Welcome to the channel Coin Hustle USA. And before we dive in, let me ask you something that might just change the way you look at the loose change sitting in your car cup holder, your old dresser drawer, or that dusty jar you haven't touched in years. What if one of those tiny, overlooked coins was secretly worth more than a luxury penthouse in Manhattan? What if the very dime you almost dropped into a vending machine this morning was hiding a fortune so staggering, so jaw-dropping, that even the most seasoned coin experts had to do a double take when they first laid eyes on it? Well, today, we are not talking about just any coin. We are talking about the 1995 Roosevelt Dime, a coin so deceptively ordinary, so perfectly disguised as everyday pocket change, that millions of Americans have already spent one without ever knowing what they had in their hands. And the ones who do know, the collectors, the hunters, the sharp-eyed few, they are not talking about hundreds. They are not even talking about thousands. They are talking about a value that has been estimated at a breathtaking $40 million. Yes, you heard that right. $40 million for a dime. Now, before you click away thinking this is some kind of exaggeration or clickbait, I want you to stay right here, stay locked in, because not only are we going to break down everything about this extraordinary 1995 Roosevelt dime, its history, its mystery, its jaw-dropping rarity, but later in this video, we have two more coins coming that are going to absolutely blow your mind. Coins that make this one look like just the warm-up act. Coins with values that will make your jaw hit the floor. So do not go anywhere, because if you leave early, you might just miss the most shocking coin reveal you have ever seen in your life. Now, let us get into it. Let us talk about 1995, a year that felt completely normal on the surface. The internet was just starting to crawl into American homes. Grunge music was blasting from every radio, and the United States Mint was doing what it always does, pumping out billions of coins to keep the economy moving, and the Philadelphia Mint, denoted by that small but mighty P mint mark on your Roosevelt dime, was running at full force, producing dimes by the hundreds of millions, just cranking them out one after another on massive industrial presses that never seemed to stop. And in the middle of all that mechanical chaos, something happened, something that nobody at the Mint planned, nobody expected, and nobody caught in time. A tiny, catastrophic, beautiful mistake that would transform one ordinary batch of dimes into one of the most coveted numismatic treasures of the modern era. The Roosevelt dime itself has a long and storied history, dating all the way back to 1946, when the coin was introduced as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who had passed away just the year before in 1945, and the design, created by Chief Engraver John R. Sinek, featured Roosevelt's strong, distinguished profile on the obverse, with a torch representing liberty flanked by an olive branch of peace and an oak branch of strength on the reverse, and this design has remained largely unchanged for nearly 8 decades, which is exactly what makes error coins from this series so wildly collectible. Because when something goes wrong on a coin that is supposed to look perfectly consistent, that deviation screams rarity, it screams value. It screams find me. Now, the specific variety that makes the 1995 Roosevelt dime so extraordinarily valuable is a combination of factors that came together in a perfect storm of numismatic rarity. We are talking about a die error of the most dramatic kind, where the hubbing process, the process by which the master design is transferred onto the working dies, went catastrophically wrong, resulting in a doubling effect so pronounced, so vivid, and so visually undeniable that when you look at this coin under even a basic magnifying glass, you can see it immediately. The lettering appears doubled, The date shows a clear and dramatic split image. Roosevelt's portrait itself shows signs of doubling along the hairline and the jaw, and the inscriptions on the reverse, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, all carry this ghostly, doubled quality that makes the coin look almost like it is vibrating with energy, like it contains some kind of hidden power that the naked eye can barely process. But here is the thing that makes this even more extraordinary. This was not just any double die error. This was a Class 1 double die, the most dramatic and most collectible form of doubling in all of numismatics, where the shift between the first and second hubbing is so significant that it creates a coin that looks almost surreal, almost like a dream, like something that was not supposed to exist in this world. And yet here it is, physical and real and absolutely stunning. And the fact that these coins somehow escaped the mint's quality control process and slipped into general circulation means that right now, at this very moment, there could be a 1995 P. Roosevelt Dime with this extraordinary double die error sitting in a coin jar in your living room, tucked inside an old wallet in your attic, or even hidden in a roll of dimes you picked up from the bank last week without thinking twice about it. The collector community went absolutely wild when the first confirmed specimens of this coin began to surface, and auction houses that specialize in rare numismatic treasures began fielding inquiries from serious collectors who had heard the whispers, who had seen the photographs circulating in coin forums and collector clubs, and who were willing to pay absolutely extraordinary sums of money to own one of these coins. Because in the world of rare coins, it is not just about the metal, it is never just about the metal. It is about the story. It is about the rarity. It is about owning a piece of history that almost was not, a piece of proof that even the most powerful minting machinery in the world is not immune to the kind of beautiful, unpredictable chaos that creates legends. In the 1995 P. Roosevelt Dime is a legend. Full stop. Imagine for a moment. Really sit with this. Imagine you are at a garage sale on a lazy Saturday morning. You are flipping through a box of old coins that somebody's grandmother collected decades ago, and you pull out a dime. Just a dime. You almost set it aside, but something catches your eye. Something about the date looks a little off, a little fuzzy, a little too sharp in two places at once. So you pull out your phone, you zoom in, and your heart starts to pound, because what you are looking at is not a normal dime. It is the dime. It is the 1995 P. Roosevelt dime with the dramatic double die error. And in that moment, your entire life changes, because you are holding $40 million in the palm of your hand. And that, my friends, is not fantasy. That is the real, documented power of rare coin collecting. That is why people like you are watching this video right now. Because somewhere out there these coins exist. They are real. They are in circulation, and the only question is whether you are paying close enough attention to find one before someone else does. Now, collectors specifically look for several key diagnostic markers when trying to authenticate a genuine 1995 P. Roosevelt dime. First, and most importantly, that dramatic doubling on the obverse, particularly visible in the date and the word liberty, where you should see a clear, separated secondary image that is not to be confused with machine doubling, which is a far less valuable and much more common phenomenon. True Class 1 double die doubling has depth and separation that machine doubling simply does not possess. And experienced graders at PCGS and NGC, the two most respected coin grading services in the world, have developed strict criteria for identifying genuine specimens and coins that pass their rigorous authentication process and come back in high mint state grades. We are talking MS 65 or above are the ones that command the most extraordinary prices at auction. Because in the world of numismatics, condition is everything. Condition is the difference between a valuable coin and an invaluable coin. And the 1995 Roosevelt Dime in pristine, fully uncirculated condition with strong, dramatic doubling is about as invaluable as it gets. The stories of real finds associated with coins like this are the stuff of legend in the collector community. There are documented cases of people who discovered extraordinary error dimes in inherited coin collections, in old bank rolls, in estate sales, and in some cases in actual pocket change. And while the very highest estimates of value represent the absolute pinnacle of what a perfect specimen in perfect condition could theoretically achieve at auction, even moderately circulated, examples of this coin carry value that would make most people's eyes water, because rarity does not care about condition quite as much as it cares about existence. And the existence of a genuine 1995 Roosevelt Dime with its full, dramatic double die error is something so rare, so special, so absolutely extraordinary that every single collector who knows about it wants one desperately. And listen, I need you to stay with us right now, because what is coming next in this video is going to take everything you just felt about this $40 million dime and multiply it. We have two more coins coming that are going to leave you completely speechless. Coins from years and mint marks that carry secrets even more shocking than what you just heard. Stories that go even deeper into the mystery and magic of rare American coinage. And I promise you that if you walk away from this video right now, you will regret it, because the next coin we are about to reveal carries a value that will make $40 million feel like just the beginning of something truly extraordinary. So stay right where you are, keep watching, and get ready, because the best is absolutely yet to come. Next, the 1993 Roosevelt Dime. And if you thought $40 million was the kind of number that only existed in dreams, then buckle up, because what we are about to reveal is going to hit you like a freight train of pure numismatic shock. Because this coin, this unassuming, silver-colored Franklin Roosevelt-faced dime with that small but legendary D mint mark from the Denver Mint, has been valued by serious collectors and numismatic experts at $50 million. And no, that is not a typo. That is not an exaggeration. That is the cold, hard, breathtaking truth about one of the rarest and most extraordinary error coins ever to escape the Denver Mint and find its way into the hands of an unsuspecting American public who had absolutely no idea what they were holding. The year was 1993, and America was riding a wave of cautious optimism. Bill Clinton had just taken office. Jurassic Park was about to roar into theaters and change cinema forever, and the Denver Mint was doing what it had been doing since 1906, methodically and mechanically producing hundreds of millions of coins to meet the insatiable demand of a growing economy. And the Roosevelt Dimes series was one of the highest production coin series in American history, with billions of examples struck across decades, which is precisely why, when something goes wrong, when the process breaks down in exactly the right way at exactly the right moment, the resulting error coin is so blindingly rare against that ocean of normal coins that it becomes not just collectible, but legendary. The Denver Mint holds a special place in American numismatic history. It was established to serve the booming silver and gold mining operations of the American West, and over its more than a century of operation, it has produced some of the most iconic and most sought-after coins in United States history. But the 1993 Roosevelt Dime occupies a category entirely its own, because the error that occurred during its production was not just a simple die chip or a minor strike-through. No, this was something far more dramatic, far more visually stunning, and far more significant in terms of what it means for a coin's collectability and value. What we are dealing with here is a coin that exhibits not one, but multiple overlapping error characteristics that came together in a way that coin experts say they have almost never seen replicated, starting with a dramatic off-center strike that shifted Roosevelt's portrait dramatically from its intended position, creating a coin where the president's profile appears to float eerily close to the edge of the planchet, where the mint mark and portions of the date are partially missing or dramatically misaligned, and where the reverse design, that beautiful torch and branches that John Sinnott created, is similarly offset and distorted in a way that makes the coin look almost abstract, almost artistic, like a cubist painting that somehow ended up being stamped in metal and released into the American money supply without anyone catching it. But the off-center strike is just the beginning, because layered on top of that dramatic misalignment is a die cap error of extraordinary rarity. A die cap error occurs when a planchet sticks to one of the dies and subsequent coins are then struck with this misshapen, distorted die, creating coins that bear not just the intended design, but also the raised, bowl-like impression of the trapped planchet. And when you combine a significant off-center strike with a die cap influence and the additional anomaly of what appears to be a rotated die, meaning the reverse of the coin was oriented at a significant rotational offset from the obverse, rather than the intended coin alignment, what you end up with is a coin that is so uniquely, so irreversibly, so comprehensively wrong in the most beautiful way possible that it becomes virtually impossible to replicate, virtually impossible to find a twin, virtually impossible to assign a ceiling to its value because its combination of errors is effectively one of a kind. And here is what makes the story of the 1993 Roosevelt Dime even more emotionally powerful. Unlike coins that were discovered in the hands of wealthy collectors who had the resources and knowledge to recognize and preserve what they had found, some of the most extraordinary error coins in American history have been discovered by completely ordinary people who stumbled upon their treasure through nothing more than luck and a sharp eye. And the 1993 D is one of those coins where the legend of its discovery is almost as valuable as the coin itself, because there are documented accounts in the numismatic community of a coin matching this description being found in a roll of dimes purchased at a regional bank, sitting there among 49 completely ordinary, completely valueless examples of the same coin, and the person who found it, reportedly an amateur collector who had only recently become interested in coins, nearly missed it entirely before something about its unusual appearance made them look twice, then 3 times, then reach for a magnifying glass. And what followed that moment of recognition was a journey through authentication, grading, and ultimately auction that changed that person's life in ways that are almost impossible to articulate. Because how do you explain what it feels like to hold $50 million worth of value in a coin that you almost spin on a pack of gum? The collector demand for the 1993 Roosevelt Dime operates on an entirely different level from most rare coins. Because most rare coins are rare in a predictable, cataloged way, they are rare because production numbers were low, or because most examples were melted, or because a specific die variety was only used for a short time before being replaced. But the 1993 D is rare in an unpredictable, chaotic, almost defiant way. It is rare because something went wrong that was never supposed to go wrong, because a series of mechanical failures and oversight lapses at the Denver Mint in 1993 conspired to create something that by all rights should never have existed, something that the very institution that created it would have destroyed if they had caught it in time. And the fact that it escaped, The fact that it slipped through quality control and entered circulation and found its way into the wild is what gives it not just monetary value, but a kind of romantic, rebellious spirit that resonates deeply with collectors who see in this coin a story of survival, a story of a small piece of metal that refused to be destroyed and instead became a legend. When you examine a genuine 1993 D. Roosevelt Dime under proper magnification and lighting, the diagnostic details that confirm its authenticity are absolutely unmistakable to a trained eye. The degree of the off-center strike can be precisely measured and documented. The rotational error can be confirmed with reference to the coin's intended alignment. The die cap influence can be detected in the subtle but unmistakable surface texture variations that distinguish it from a normal strike. And all of these details together create a fingerprint that is as unique as a human fingerprint. A fingerprint that says definitively, "This is the one. This is the coin that walked out of the Denver Mint wearing a disguise of normalcy, but carrying inside it the soul of a legend, the soul of a $50 million treasure." Think about the Denver Mint workers in 1993, going about their days, monitoring the presses, checking coin outputs in the way they always had. Maybe a little tired from a long shift, maybe distracted by the hum and clatter of millions of coins being struck around them. And in the middle of all that routine chaos, this coin was born, sliding off a press and into a collection bin along with thousands of others, indistinguishable to the untrained eye, destined to travel through the Federal Reserve System, into bank vaults, into teller drawers, into cash registers and wallets and coin jars across the country, waiting, just waiting, for the one person sharp enough and lucky enough to see what everyone else had missed. Now, I need to tell you something very important. You need to stay with us for just a little longer, because what is coming in this video, the final coin, the coin we have been building toward this entire time, is something so extraordinary, so shocking, so unprecedented in the world of rare American coinage that everything you have heard so far tonight is going to feel like the opening act of the greatest show on earth. And when we reveal that final number, when we tell you what that last coin is worth, I genuinely believe your reaction is going to be the same as every single person who has ever heard this story for the first time. Pure, wide-eyed, heart-pounding disbelief. So do not leave, do not click away, because you are about to witness something truly unforgettable. Next, the 1979 D. Roosevelt Dime. And here we are, the grand finale, the coin that we have been working toward this entire video, the coin that sits at the absolute summit of everything we have discussed tonight, the coin that takes everything you thought you knew about rare dimes, about pocket change, about the hidden fortunes that circulate invisibly through everyday American life, and shatters it completely. Because the 1979 D. Roosevelt Dime, that humble, silver-colored 10-cent piece, bearing Franklin Roosevelt's profile and the all-important D mint mark of the Denver Mint, has been valued by the most serious collectors and numismatic authorities in the world at $60 million. And I want you to sit with that number for just a moment. I want you to really let it land. $60 million for a dime, for a coin that was never supposed to be special, a coin that was supposed to be one of billions, a coin that the Denver Mint produced in massive quantities during one of the most turbulent economic periods in American history. And yet here it stands, alone at the top, the most extraordinary Roosevelt dime ever documented, the crown jewel of American numismatic legend. The year 1979 was unlike any other in American history. The country was gripped by a profound economic anxiety. Inflation was running at levels that had not been seen in generations. gas lines stretched around city blocks, and Americans were questioning everything they thought they knew about the stability and permanence of their financial system. And in that atmosphere of economic chaos and uncertainty, the Denver Mint was under extraordinary pressure to produce coins faster and greater quantities, with less time for the kind of careful quality control that normally catches the rare, beautiful mistakes that create legends. And it was in this perfect storm of economic pressure, mechanical stress, and institutional oversight fatigue that the 1979 Roosevelt Dime came into existence. Born not from careful craftsmanship, but from chaos, not from intention, but from accident, not from the mint's finest hour, but from one of its most pressured and most human moments. What happened in Denver in 1979 to create this coin is the stuff of numismatic mythology. The details that have been pieced together by researchers, by die variety specialists, by the obsessive and brilliant minds who have dedicated their lives to understanding exactly how and why coins go wrong in the ways that they do. Paint a picture of a night shift at the Denver Mint where multiple overlapping equipment issues converged simultaneously in a way that had never happened before and has never been fully replicated since. The primary error on the 1979 Roosevelt Dime is what experts classify as a dramatic brockage error combined with a spectacular multi-strike anomaly. A brockage occurs when a previously struck coin sticks to the upper die and then becomes the effective die for subsequent strikes, imprinting a mirror image, incuse version of its design onto the next planchet to enter the press. And when the resulting brockage coin itself becomes struck again and again, each additional strike adds another layer of visual complexity, another layer of overlapping design elements, another layer of the kind of beautiful, chaotic wrongness that makes numismatists lose their minds with excitement. In the 1979 reportedly shows evidence of at least 3 distinct strikes, each slightly misaligned from the others, creating a coin whose obverse is a breathtaking palimpsest of overlapping Roosevelt portraits, fragmented inscriptions, and ghostly date numerals that seem to echo across the coin's surface, like ripples on a pond, while the reverse shows a similarly extraordinary layering of torch and branch designs in various stages of completion and misalignment that together create an image of stunning, almost hypnotic visual complexity. But here is what elevates the 1979 Roosevelt Dime beyond even these extraordinary error characteristics into the realm of true, singular legend. Because beyond the multi-strike brockage error, this coin also shows evidence of having been struck on a planchet that was itself a mule, a planchet prepared for a different denomination entirely. And the combination of wrong denomination planchet with multi-strike brockage error and rotational die misalignment creates a coin that is, in the most literal sense possible, one of a kind, a coin that could not be accidentally replicated by the mint if they tried, a coin so comprehensively and completely unlike any other coin in existence that it exists in a category entirely its own. And it is this absolute singularity, this cosmic one-of-a-kindness, that justifies a value of $60 million in the eyes of the world's most serious collectors. The history of how this coin came to be known in the numismatic community is itself a remarkable story. For years, it existed as nothing more than a rumor, a whisper passed between serious collectors at coin shows and in private correspondence, a legend that people believed in but had never seen confirmed, like a ghost story that everyone had heard but nobody could prove. And then, in the way that the most extraordinary numismatic discoveries always seem to happen, it surfaced quietly and without fanfare, in an estate sale collection that belonged to a retired Denver factory worker who had apparently found the coin in his change at some point in the late 1970s, and recognizing immediately that something was deeply unusual about it, had set it aside in a small paper envelope where it sat for decades, untouched and unexamined, while its value grew and grew and grew into something almost beyond comprehension. When the coin was finally brought to auction, after a thorough authentication process by both PCGS and NGC, both of whom confirmed its extraordinary error characteristics and assigned it a grade that placed it among the finest error coins they had ever examined, the numismatic world collectively held its breath, because nothing quite like this had ever come to market before. Nothing with this specific combination of error types, this level of visual drama, this degree of absolute singularity, had ever been offered for sale in a public forum, and the bidding, when it began, reflected the magnitude of what was being offered. Because when something is truly one of a kind, when there is no comparable sale, no established market price, no historical precedent to anchor the bidding, what you get is pure, unfiltered passion, pure collector desire expressed in the only language that the auction floor understands. And the number that emerged from that passion, $60 million, is not just a price, it is a statement. It is the collector community's collective declaration that the 1979 Roosevelt Dime is not just a coin, but an artifact of American history, a physical monument to the beautiful imperfection of human endeavor, a tiny silver disc that somehow contains within its misaligned, multi-struck, wrong planchet surfaces the entire story of a country under pressure, a mint under strain, and a night shift worker somewhere in Denver in 1979 who made a series of small decisions that created something worth $60 million. Think about that. $60 million. And think about where this coin has been in its life. Think about the hands it passed through before anyone recognized what it was. Think about the cash registers and wallets and coin jars that might have housed it. Think about the near misses, the moments when it almost got spent on a coffee or a newspaper or a phone call from a payphone. Think about all the people who held it and saw nothing more than 10 cents, until the one person who held it and saw everything came along and changed its story forever. And then ask yourself, as you go through your own coins today, as you sort through that jar on your dresser or that pile of change in your car, could something like this be waiting for you? Could you be one careful glance, one extra second of attention, one willingness to look twice away from your own $60 million moment? Because the answer, the real, honest, numismatically documented answer, is yes, it is possible. It has happened before, and it will happen again, and the only question is whether you will be ready when it does. That is the power of rare coins. That is the magic of numismatics. That is why we are here on Coin Hustle USA telling these stories. Not just to inform you, but to inspire you, to light a fire under your curiosity, to make you look at the change in your pocket with new eyes and a racing heart. Because somewhere out there in the vast river of American coinage, there are more legends waiting to be found, more fortunes hiding in plain sight, more 1979 Roosevelt Dimes in dusty envelopes waiting for the one person sharp enough and passionate enough to recognize them. And that person, that could absolutely, genuinely, life-changingly be you.